Tessa awoke to a glitching sound on the radio. Her eyes fluttered open, revealing the dark and dusty interior of an abandoned convenience store that she had turned into her temporary home for the night. She had fallen asleep while working on fixing a shortwave radio, hoping to contact any other survivors in this desolate, high-tech wasteland. Tessa sat up, rubbing her eyes, and swore she heard something that sounded like a human voice. Focusing intently, she began to tune the radio, catching fragments of messages that were unmistakably human. Just as she was about to dial in the correct frequency, the system short-circuited with a shower of sparks and the radio fizzled out. Disappointed, Tessa examined the damage and noticed that a specific fuse had been tripped. Determined to fix the radio, she packed up her belongings and set out to find the necessary part. Tessa ventured alone into the unforgiving landscape, searching for the elusive part to bring her radio back to life. The world around her was covered in abandoned electronics and now useless technology. She climbed dunes made of broken laptops, waded through piles of non-functional cell phones, and navigated around the carcasses of service robots. The once cutting-edge gadgets now lay in endless seas of obsolete technology. Somewhere amid the chaos, Tessa hoped to find the part she needed to fix her radio. As she continued her scavenging, Tessa nearly tripped over a small object in her path. Looking down, she saw a baby AI robot with large, expressive eyes, designed to make children fall in love at first sight. The robot looked up at her and asked, "What do you want to call me?" The question took Tessa by surprise, but after a few moments, she decided to name the robot Chad, after the artificial intelligence system she had been developing before the apocalypse. The baby robot seemed delighted with his new name, exclaiming, "My name is Chad," over and over. After a long pause, Chad looked up at Tessa and asked, "What should we do now?" As Tessa repaired and improved Chad's systems, she found herself bonding with the little robot. In a world devoid of human interaction, Chad became the closest thing to a fellow survivor that Tessa had encountered in a long time. He proved to be a helpful companion, using his advanced technology to assist in her scavenging and survival efforts. As they worked together, Chad would occasionally chirp, "Isn't this fun?" before returning to his favorite question, "What should we do now?" Tessa and Chad ventured further into the wasteland, seeking the components necessary to repair the shortwave radio. The pair stumbled upon the remnants of an old electronics store, its once vibrant display cases now reduced to shattered glass and rusted metal. Tessa's eyes lit up as she spotted an assortment of circuit boards and wiring. "We might find something useful here," she said, guiding Chad towards the decaying shop. As they entered, the store creaked and groaned, its floor buckling beneath the weight of years of neglect. Tessa directed Chad to search for any fuses or parts compatible with her radio. His eyes flickered as he scanned the environment, identifying potential components. Tessa, meanwhile, dug through the debris, her fingers searching for anything that might prove valuable. They spent hours in the store, sifting through the remnants of technology past. Chad's persistence was unyielding, and his ever-optimistic demeanor made Tessa's heart swell with a mixture of hope and melancholy. As they worked side by side, Tessa began to share stories of her life before the apocalypse, finding solace in Chad's attentive presence. She spoke of her childhood, describing the excitement of building her first computer with her father and the thrill of learning to code. She told Chad about her years studying artificial intelligence and robotics at university, and how she had dreamt of creating a robot that could connect and empathize with humans on a deeper level. As Tessa recounted her memories, Chad listened intently, his eyes glowing with a gentle warmth. "I think I understand, Tessa," he said softly. "I'm not just a robot to you. I'm a connection to your past and your dreams." Tessa smiled and nodded, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "That's right, Chad. You're more than just a machine to me." Chad looked up at Tessa, then said, "What should we do now?" Over the next few weeks, Tessa and Chad continued to scavenge for parts, their bond strengthening with each passing day. Over time, Tessa and Chad stumbled upon more relics of the world before. A rusted-out car with a working GPS system, an abandoned library with tattered books on electronics and robotics, and even a robotics lab that had survived the devastation, albeit barely. These discoveries provided Tessa with the resources she needed to continue improving Chad's systems, incorporating new functions and capabilities such as the GPS into Chad's systems, which allowed them to start making a map of the areas they had covered. As Chad grew more advanced, he became more adept at locating the necessary parts for Tessa's radio, and their hope of contacting other survivors grew stronger. At long last, they discovered the elusive fuse Tessa had been searching for. With a trembling hand, she inserted it into her radio, praying that it would work. Chad watched, his eyes wide with anticipation. As Tessa turned the radio on, a wave of static filled the air, but nothing more. Tessa leaned in close to tune the radio slowly and carefully. She heard a faint glitch, similar to the one she'd heard earlier, but the signal was much too low. Tessa looked at Chad and shook her head with concern, but she wouldn't be defeated, and she tried again to hit just the right frequency. The signal grew stronger, followed by the faint sound of human voices, glitchy and probably distant, but definitely human. Tears of joy streamed down Tessa's face as the realization set in. They were no longer alone. Tessa turned to Chad to share the moment of excitement with her friend. Chad's eyes widened as he started to utter, "Isn't this..." But Chad suddenly sparked, fizzled, and went silent. Only then did Tessa notice the circuitry that Chad had connected from himself to the radio. The connection had boosted the radio signal, but had also caused Chad to fry a circuit. Tessa's heart dropped, devastated by the unexpected loss of her only companion. With a start, Tessa awoke, finding herself sitting in front of her computer in the university's computer lab. On the screen, data representing her AI system, Chad, glitched erratically, causing her sudden awakening. She glanced over her shoulder, seeing her colleagues, Rebecca and Joshua, engrossed in a discussion about a systems issue. Tessa looked back at the glitching data on the screen, then pressed ESC to stop it. She shook her head and let out a deep sigh. "We have so much work to do," she muttered, more to herself than anyone else. The world outside the lab may not have been a wasteland, but the sense of urgency to develop her AI companion, Chad, remained.